Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 10 of my podcast, Book and Story World with author Priya Grewal. I hope everyone's had a fantastic week so far. For today's episode, I thought I would read out my horror novel, Satan's TV, and the subtitle on the front cover is Entertainment Designed for Evil by myself, Priya Grewal. So Satan's TV, along with the rest of my books, are self-published with and available on Amazon to purchase in paperback or on Kindle. Right, so let's dig into Satan's TV, a horror novel by myself, Priya Grewal. Chapter 1. "We want a meeting," the former Princess Charlotte said to me. "Why?" I replied, sitting in my grand large office behind my desk. "We're bored," Charlotte informed me. "Bored? What do you mean you're bored?" I asked, trying to hide my irritation. "We're bored of Planet Earth TV. It's gone stale," Charlotte said. "Right," I said, unsure what to do. "So the oldest sibling of each family here wants to have a meeting with you about our options. It is our entertainment that's the important thing here after all," Charlotte insisted. "Snotty brat," I thought to myself. "Thinks she can talk to me however she likes." I imagined throwing something from my desk at her head. But we all have our secrets, so I say, "Fine, of course, I'd be delighted to attend." 7 p.m. okay for you?" Charlotte asked me. I forced a toothy grin at her and said, "Sounds great." I grimaced as she turned her back to me and walked out of my office. "See you then," she sang cockily. I pulled a face at her back as she forgot to close the door behind her. I lifted my hand and shut my grand office door using my magic. I glanced at the clock on my wall, displaying 4:30 p.m. as the current time. 2.5 hours to prepare for their whining, I thought to myself, feeling frustrated. You're probably wondering who I am. I'll give you a moment to guess. Some TV producer with magical powers? No, incorrect. Okay, I'll tell you. I'm Satan. I know you've heard of me. Who hasn't by now, I'd like to say. How I came to be sitting here putting up with a former princess moaning at me about Earth entertainment? Well, you know some of it already about my failed attempt. For now, I'd like to add. I'll give you a quick synopsis about the situation. So yes, I got jealous. The part I've hidden from planet Earth is that there were many gods and goddesses born at the same time. We created the male and female form together. There were trillions of us. We made ourselves our homes, got married, made empires, and had children. So each married couple made the species we called immortals and worlds for them to inhabit. Each married pair made their own worlds of immortals. Later, we all had children and called all our babies born angels. Us kings and queens called our sons princes and daughters princesses. Everyone was welcome to make an empire in the future after reaching 1 billion years of age. Us gods and goddesses decided for the recommended age to build an empire. So the immortals got married and some made empires, and so did some of the angels as time went on. We built a fabulous world. There was everything that is on planet Earth times 1,000,000 and more. Everyone was given magical powers. They could fly and teleport. Everything was about having a good time and leisure. So all of us had our government meetings where kings and queens were welcome to bring new ideas and inventions to the table. It was a magical world and universe. So, secret number 1. I was actually called the High King and my wife Valis the High Queen. They were titles of honor as the population of gods and goddesses thought it was my idea, and that my wife helped me design the idea of the planets and immortals we would make. The truth is, I actually stole the idea. When we were born, all the gods and goddesses, the label we gave ourselves, shared their ideas on a joint platform, and everyone would enjoy the new inventions people came up with. When we were around 330 billion years old, one god called Peruse made up marriage and sex. Of course, I did what everyone else did and married my perfect magic chosen one, shown to me through the perfect match machine Peruse made. Yes, of course I enjoyed the physical pleasure of sex as much as everyone else, but I got jealous and wanted the whole universe of gods and goddesses to know my name. I wanted them to celebrate me for something. So I secretly set up a machine with my powers to show me the ideas of inventions that any of the gods and goddesses may be thinking of. When there was nothing that was equal to sex, I set my machine to show me future ideas. Bingo, I found a gem. I told my wife Valis. She was my accomplice, so I finally announced on the joint idea platform for Gods and Goddesses my stolen idea. Varlis fake beaming beside me. We laughed and laughed afterwards. We didn't come up with anything ourselves. The name of the god who I stole it from? You've heard of him. His name was Zeus. His wife was called Hera. He was going to think of it in around a million years, so I didn't have to worry about him ever suspecting anything about it being his future idea. So that's how we became universe famous and popular, all the gods and goddesses loving our idea. Unfortunately, through no fault of my own, of course, it didn't last. Here's what happened next. Chapter 2. The truth is, after a while I got lazy, a while meaning around 500 years. I couldn't be bothered to keep making movies and music and writing books with Varlis as we had all agreed to do for our empires. At first, when I couldn't be bothered to think of new story ideas for films and books, I plagiarized, just a little. Plagiarism became the official word for copying. I wasn't that bad compared to others. Other kings and queens practically copied other kings and queens' whole stories and just changed the characters' names slightly. No one realized that the other kings and queens would get angry about it and bring it up at a government meeting. I apologized as the High King. I said, "I'm sorry, I know I have indulged in copying story and film ideas too. The truth is I got lazy, which is why I did it. Forgive me," I said to them all. I was just faking it, of course, cursing them all in my head, thinking, whatever. I thought by apologizing I had managed to stay popular with them all. So we passed a law for no plagiarism. If anyone did get lazy, then we would just ask the kings and queens who hadn't become lazy if we could borrow their films, books, and music videos and songs when we wanted to. The kings and queens didn't mind this as long as we put the names of whoever had made the film, book, or music video at the beginning and end of the film, book, or music video. So everyone agreed to this and borrowing began. I began to ask permission for a whole year of movies, TV shows, books, and songs with music videos to entertain my own empire. Varlis ended up being happy borrowing too, as she liked leisure time so much. So as the billions of years went on and immortals and angels made empires too, many of them started borrowing too as time went on. I mainly loved playing golf with my friends, some of the other gods and goddesses. Varlis loved to lounge by the indoor swimming pool most of the time. Then after a long time the problems began. I had got into an argument with my two best friends, Devil and Lucifer, and their wives, Aramis and Marawa. I had said to them all that they were nothing compared to me, the High King, whose idea all of this was. All of this meaning everyone's empire and everyone ever made in it. Varlis had agreed with me as we sat at a dinner table in Lucifer's mansion house. The four had turned vicious, telling us to get out. They started threatening us with magic, saying they would turn us both into clocks. So me and Varlis hurried out of there. I had no friends after that. Neither did Varlis. But our 24 children, 12 grown up, married and moved out and having children, and the 12 who still lived with us entertained her enough. She just thought of herself as a family woman now. It wasn't enough for me, even with grandchildren to play with. I felt lonely with no friends to play golf with or to talk to. So I decided to become friends with my immortal population, the ones who hadn't become kings or queens as they weren't interested in making empires for now. The truth is, myself and Varlis hadn't actually bothered much with the immortal population we had made or the angels that had been born. We were happy. Every god and goddess knew our name and we thought everyone loved us, even if we did like saying the odd rude thing here or there. We thought we would always be loved for our stolen idea. So, when I decided to start visiting our population by myself, as Varlis wasn't interested in it, something made me very, very angry. Chapter 3. So, the first immortals I visited were a few of the female ones. I thought I'd check on the ones who used to smile at me a lot so I could try and make new friends. Their husbands were there when I visited too. I said they didn't need to bother keeping their children at home. I couldn't be bothered with them yet. So I started my round of visits for befriending. By the time I'd visited the third house of immortals I'd made with Varlis, I was furious. All the three couples had spoken about were the kings and queens whose entertainment I'd borrowed. They were excited about the movies I'd borrowed, hailed their favourite authors, movie makers, song makers. After that, I didn't visit anyone else. I had to look into what was going on. I assumed that I would always be famous and popular along with Varlis for the empire idea, and thought I was the father who had given birth to all with the stolen empire idea. So I checked magically to see if I was popular or famous. The words 0% for fame and popularity came up before me. I screamed. This was not supposed to be happening. I was supposed to be loved forever. Next, I put up a screen with a list in front of me to see which kings and queens and princes and princesses were popular and famous. The immortals I'd visited had complimented a prince while I was there too. They praised his character. I was furious as I scrolled down the list. I saw that all of those who had been borrowing were on 0% for popularity and fame. My whole family, Varlis and our 12 sons and daughters and grandchildren, were all on 0% too. I screamed as I saw all the great movie makers and authors and songwriters on 100% for fame and popularity. It was a mixture for their sons and daughters. Some were on 0% for fame and popularity for being vicious, I saw, as I investigated, and others were on full 100% with their parents' empires. Some were even heard of outside of their parents' empires for good characters, and the odd one had written a book that had become popular with the immortals. So I huffed and I puffed, and I decided to blow some houses down. During my investigation, I discovered I wasn't popular because I was extremely rude to people. I had become in love with myself and said something rude to anyone I felt competitive with or over anything at all. Varlis was conceited and ignored everyone she wasn't related to apart from Lucifer, Aramis, Devil and Meroa. It was time for me to plan. Just under half of the kings and queens were unpopular and unknown along with almost half the princes and princesses. I then looked into the immortal population, which, to my delight, I discovered that almost half of the immortals were jealous of all the famous and popular kings and queens and princes and princesses too. They were either jealous of their own makers' successes or the other popular and famous kings and queens, princes and princesses. I could do something with this. I could take over the world. I just had to push the right buttons and plan something truly atrocious. Chapter 4. So I sat in what I called my secret laboratory in my palace mansion. I told Varlis I was playing computer games so she didn't bother me with herself or our children. I planned something truly atrocious. In actual fact, I came up with the term evil for it. So yes, as you may have heard, I invented killing magic. My plan was to kill all the immortals and their angels who loved the kings and queens and any princes and princesses for any of the reasons I mentioned above, making the films, music and books or good character and whatever else the people loved about them. When it comes to my idea that I called killing, it's when I decided to end the existence of those whose love of the king and queens and princes and princesses made me jealous. They praised them while I sat on my big horrible 0 for popularity and fame. No one loved me. So I came up with ending existence magic, which I called killing. The gods and goddesses, having been born instead of made like the immortals, were trickier to dispose of. The same magic didn't work on them, as our original form is a bit like a floating cloud of colour. The killing magic didn't work on the gods and goddess angels either. So I thought of turning them into stone. If I turned them all into stone, then I could shatter them all and break the shattered pieces of stone into smaller and smaller pieces until they didn't exist anymore at all. I ran into a problem. I wanted this plan to make me popular and famous with all the jealous immortals and their angels, and I wanted to be a hero to the non-famous and non-popular kings and queens and princes and princesses by making them aware of the fact that they were on 0 for popularity and fame. The plan didn't make me very famous for long, as the jealous turned evil would grow bored of me and move on and then not like me for being the inventor of killing after a while and get jealous of that. So I devised a plan to give them the ultimate power trip over the popular and famous kings and queens and princes and princesses. I kept checking and testing which ideas would work and what wouldn't, and I came up with the motherlode. Motherlode meaning 100% popularity and fame for me for all of eternity. Along with my vengeance for being on 0 and becoming jealous of the popular and famous. That part was what I called revenge. I invented a fate worse than death, which is what I called the state of not existing anymore, being dead. I invented an unpleasant feeling called pain and designed what I called a prison for all the popular and famous to perish in forever. You've definitely heard of this one. I named the prison Hell. However, it wasn't quite enough for eternal fame with them all, so next I invented an abomination. I thought of the concept of fear and creating something so horrible to look at that all the popular and famous kings and queens and princes and princesses would be running through the prison screaming for all of eternity, trying to hide from what I created. I came up with demons. I designed trillions of male and female demons and designed secret planets for them to live on. I only decide the ones who would say yes to my plan after being brought to life by me. I would show them the scenes of the popularity and fame of the popular kings and queens and princesses, and although newly made, the ones who got jealous of the scenes would say yes. Pure evil. I would teach them all how to inflict my invention magical pain on the popular and famous forever. I designed what I called torture tools with the different types of pain in them. I made up knives, saws, guns, swords, all sorts of things. The plan? Inflict fear and pain on the popular and famous forever in my prison called Hell. I checked what the response would be. It sold. 100% popularity and fame for me forever. So I perfected the plan, and here's what happened next. Chapter 5. So step 1 was making the non-popular and non-famous kings and queens and princes and princesses jealous. They wouldn't say yes to my plan outright, as they were in love with themselves for being kings and queens and princes and princesses. Why would they give up their titles? So I sent out the popularity statistics and fame statistics to each of their email addresses. Everyone had an email address back then. I sent them out anonymously and made sure everyone who was not popular and famous would see them. I magically put in a little blind spot so that no one looked into who actually sent them. That's so they wouldn't know I was serving myself only, really. So I sent them out happily and let the dominoes fall into place. I had decided to give all of them 1,000 years to slowly boil from finding out they were non-famous and non-popular. I had to let the seed of envy and rage grow first. Then, in 1,000 years, when they were all nicely cooked, I would set upon my path of offering them my plan. All I had to do was check magically if the kings and queens and princes and princesses would say yes. With my statistics, they would all say yes happily if I waited 1,000 years for them not to care about their titles anymore and be consumed with jealousy and rage to the popular and famous members of royalty. In the meantime, I planned to create my secret universe of female and male demons to be my scary torturers in hell for all of eternity. If you're wondering how it would all be done, then the plan all would say yes to was very cunning on my part. I said that we would kill all by turning invisible and floating. Every member of what I would call the New World would kill a citizen of the universe, one each. Whilst they were busy with that, myself with the gods and goddesses, as they're the oldest kings and queens too, would teleport invisibly to each king and queen and prince and princess who were popular and famous and transport them all to hell. They wouldn't know that we were behind it because we'd be in disguise as my demons torturing them all forever too. I had even planned to put in hologram duplicate versions of the rest of us to make the popular and famous ones think we had all been abducted by these new demon gods and goddesses too, who envied our universe and all we had created. Oh, for hell I had invented all sorts. I particularly enjoyed my elemental demons, the one who caused floods, earthquakes, fires, hurricanes, mudslides, and tornadoes. I'm the father of all those natural disasters. The next part cinched all jealous immortals, immortal angels, god and goddess, kings and queens, immortal kings and queens, angel kings and queens, and princess angels to say yes. I designed an impenetrable hideaway for everyone. Secretly, I planned to flee all of them if the plan failed. Fortunately, 144,000 prince and princess angels would want to stay in my hideaway as my loyal supporters. If all went wrong, I planned to transport them all to me after they had calmed down a little. For success, I promised all the kings and queens and princes and princesses their own hideaway. I promised all the kings and queens and princes and princesses their own hideaway in case the immortals and immortal angels turned on them in case of failure. The demons wanted their own hideaway in the possible future I saw, so I promised them their own one with me. Themselves, along with Valis, my wife and sons and daughters and grandchildren, would turn on me if anything went wrong. It was impossible for the good kings and queens and the rest of the good population, as now I had created the term evil for the atrocious side, to get to us in our hideaways with all my magical security that could not be undone. Everyone would be happy and feel safe with the plan due to my impenetrable lair. All would believe that we would all be going into a lair together if we failed. The next part sealed my victory of all the jealous saying yes to my plan of killing all the good immortals and immortal angels, and my abduction and eternal imprisonment, scaring and torture hell plan for the good kings and queens and princes and princesses. The immortals and immortal angels who would never say yes to my plan, I would declare as enemies to my new world that I would build with the jealous. They would all die. I called my event the Apocalypse Armageddon. Oh yes, the part that sealed my victory over the jealous and made to be jealous royalty by me. I planned if all went wrong and we had to flee into our impenetrable lairs, I would replace every single one of us with a hologram duplicate of themselves, always magic to function, and say anything that anyone would say if they were there. The hologram duplicates would be the pretend victims too if there was failure. They would never know what we had done. They'd all be with a hologram duplicate version of ourselves. This is how all would say yes to my plan, my magic showing me the outcome and decisions made about my plans. It was going to be a universe of people pretending and not having to worry about acting due to my magic in front of the good ones. Many immortals and immortal angels would be killing their own husbands and wives, sons and daughters, parents, siblings, uncles, aunts, cousins, nieces, nephews, grandparents, grandchildren, and what we called eternity partners before our children were of age to marry. The pledge would be to kill anyone who would never be one of us. For royalty, it would be pretending not to be killing the good in the universe and waiting to put one of their relations mentioned above into hell forever. Torturing their former loved ones in my demonic disguises forever. So, more secrets upon secrets. It was a large number that I was planning to turn into my eternal fans. Nearly half the world. So I wanted the other kings and queens to help me organize it with the immortals and immortal angels. They would all say yes for revenge and turn evil for it. I had to bribe them to do the work of organizing it with me. I bribed them with popularity and fame. As the immortal population, including angels, would be divided into an equal number for each king and queen to organize it with. I said whoever they organized it with would become their fans. In turn, I offered them 100% popularity and fame by showing them a scene of the love of the jealous for themselves over making the plan happen. I suggested making their list of jealous ones to visit into their clans with a name and use secret invisible tattoos for our secret organizations. The kings and queens were then told by me that they would have 100% fame and popularity with the ones they didn't organize it with just for organizing it. I lied. Everyone had around 2 trillion immortal and immortal angel fans to be made, but the popularity beyond that for organizing would be around 19% in total, as they would all be my super fans for being the man Satan who created all the evil magic and demons and came up with the whole thing. So in secret, the kings and queens only had a slither of my popularity and fame really, which still meant enjoying cheering when they entered our secret rooms and being doted upon. I used magic so they would never ever find out it was only a slither of my own popularity and fame. I saw them all as bringing me the world faster, a lot faster than doing it myself. Otherwise, I'd still be organizing. I created the secret underworld for our members with a dark initiation ceremony. All would drink a chalice of my invention blood in a cloak and hood, and then I'd throw them a party. I also bribed the princes and princesses with popularity and fame once they had turned evil and said yes. Again, it was only 19% of my own, but again I had my magic to hide my secret. In turn, the kings and queens and princes and princesses would worship me for the popularity and fame I gave them in their life experience, as well as revenge for their statistic of being on 0 for popularity and fame. It was the no one knows my name when I'm a prince or princess faction, really. My immortal population would start growing bored with our entertainment, so I bribed the princes and princesses with turning into exotic dancers in clubs and concerts and to do some singing to entertain the immortals. This was an important part of the plan, keeping the immortals and immortal angels happy as us kings and queens organized. We would all relinquish our titles and would be called mother and father instead, followed by our names so evil would feel secure and looked after. So the princes and princesses said yes, more fans for me. Next, I came up with new sports for evil. They would enjoy my inventions, boxing, wrestling, karate, fake sword play, all sorts. The underground secret world would be located behind a wall in my palace. All a member would have to do was teleport into my castle underground tunnel, knock on the wall and it would open, revealing what I called the evil new world. One issue that arose in my plans were the immortals and immortal angels being scared of the gods and goddesses by doing my plan. So I came up with a way to remove their nerves. I invented magical hexes to do. Examples being destroying someone's plants, posters falling on the floor, making people stick their finger up their nostril, changing the taste of something they were eating to an unpleasant taste. I wrote the script for each king and queen organizer and what hex they would be doing to remove the nerves of the immortal or immortal angel before offering them the plan. This would mean the immortal or immortal angel would say yes happily and not be scared of the gods and goddesses after putting a hex on a chosen immortal or immortal angel they were jealous of. After doing the hex and laughing together, we would wipe the memory of the immortal or immortal angel so they didn't remember the hex and get suspicious. For some, the hex wasn't enough, so I made up having an affair with them. That's me, the father of affairs. All kings and queens would agree to do this. They would have to seduce the vainest of immortals and immortal angels into having sex with themselves, which means going against their all-important chosen partner vows. It would work. The affairs would always stay a secret using magic, of course. All of this took a long time to plan and organize, but we lived forever. I was nearly 1,000 billion years old. All I had was time, and no friends, of course. I think I've covered nearly everything. My secret, bringing all the fans to me. Go out, former kings and queens, and bring me my fans, and become my fans yourselves. And princes and princesses, become my fans too, with loving your 19% popularity and fame life without realizing 100% is only for me. Oh, I've forgotten my demons. One last bribe, for them to always be torturers, which I organized into shift work for once we were up and running. I showed them how I would introduce them to the evil population and be cheered and throw mixers and parties in their honor. Again, it was around 19% of my 100% for being the inventor of evil magic, and the apocalypse, Armageddon, and hell are my demons. All would love my secret underworld of entertainment through the tunnel in my palace, that all would be able to teleport into as a New World member. This also made me more famous and popular with them all. I also set up a new chosen partner machine by making a ceremony out of it for anyone killing their husband or wife or eternity partner for the younger ones, and for anyone putting their other half into hell. I called the wedding a New World Dark Ceremony instead. Any couples got remarried. I also introduced promiscuity and said no one would be bound by only having sex with their married partner or eternity partner. This suited evil. They cheered for me even more. I planned it all first. It took a long time to write my magic tin scripts for the organizers with the hex for the removal of fear for the immortals and immortal angels to do. I took a long time designing my demons too. Once the statistics were sent out, I started making my secret demon universe. I watched happily in secret as the 1,000 years began. 1,000 years for royalty to brew until they say yes to everything I plan to offer them. First, revenge. My first recruit was my wife Valis. We did everything in age order. One last bribe. I bribed Valis and obviously my friends Lucifer, Devil, Aramis and Maroa, who welcomed me back with open arms once I pitched the plan to them. I chose 3 other couples, former friends who I'd also fallen out with, to go around and organize it with the kings and queens first and then princes and princesses. Their names were Beast and Sarameth, Carvel and Hestia, and Dazak and Cryptal. They thought their top-level secret was becoming popular and famous with all kings and queens, whether they were a god or goddess, immortal or angel. They also thought they would be popular and famous with the princes and princesses too. I chose 12, including myself, to organize with royalty so they felt secure saying yes. Another would be too much, and any less wouldn't feel secure enough for them all. Again, it was only 19% of my own 100% fame and popularity for being the inventor. My friends would never know this. The new world would mean I was the only god. I was the only popular and famous god king. Me. Only me. The night of the apocalypse, Armageddon, would be a night of mass killing, murder, and the beginning of slaughter and bloodshed for all of eternity. It would take place in the 14th billion year of empires on Friday 31st of October, 10 p.m. I called the night Halloween. So, around 4,000 years later, Chapter 6. The night had finally arrived. Eternal fame and popularity were in my grasp. Everything and everyone were organized. It was Friday 31st of October, 10 p.m. The 14th 10th year of empire, was the night of Halloween, the apocalypse Armageddon, was loved. I was honoured. I received so many presents, my palace was overflowing with them. I loved it all. Women flung themselves at me regardless of age. Men bowed to me. People gasped when I entered the room and bowed and cheered. It was time. I was about to secure my position forever. Also, to my enjoyment, the entire world of good without knowing it was about to die, and I was going to have fun torturing the soon-to-be former popular and famous kings and queens, princes and princesses forever. The gods and goddesses and their angels and the immortal kings and queens and their angels would be my victims, forever. We were all in position together, in our cloaks and ready to turn invisible and kill and abduct and torture with my legions of hell. The new evil world, my armies of evil and death, slaughter and torture. I had decided for us all to meet up in the part of hell I called the wasteland. My demons were gathered. The evil kings and queens and princes and princesses were gathered. All evil immortals and immortal angels were gathered. I had even set up learning for all on how to kill and teleport invisibly and scare in demon disguises and torture via my schools and university that all had attended, learning in a fun way. It was also loved. When it got to 9:55 p.m., a silence fell over what I so secretly called my minions. I put my hands in the air at 9:59 p.m. I counted down as planned. 3, 2, 1, go. Everyone disappeared before me and I teleported to Peruse, the god who had invented sex and marriage. I wanted to be the one to teleport him into hell. I surrounded him invisibly with my 2 friends, Lucifer and Devil, and wife Valis, who was by himself watching TV in a personal room I assumed was his office. Obviously, I had already foresaw what he would be doing at this precise moment. As planned, I nodded my head as we hung in the air floating so we made no sound. We all flung our teleportation and stripping of powers magical energy balls at Peruse all at once. I had planned to drain them all of their magic at this point so they had no powers, of course, in hell. By then, everyone had voted to put in 101 immortals into hell too, whose popularity was over 90% and well known for something. My minions were really vicious. The 101 immortals were also being teleported into hell. We flung our magic and cheered. Peruse disappeared right before our eyes, into hell. I was full of joy and elation on the inside. As planned, we would throw the parties later after our week before celebration all-night party, so we all felt alert. We all teleported into hell. I assumed all had been successful. While we were invisible, we transformed into our demon disguises. My demons were in position. While we teleported, my prisoners were riding down on the hell elevator, all screaming. This gave us time to teleport in after everyone's kills and abductions. We all took our positions. I magicked on my welcome introduction for my prisoners. Welcome! My invention of circus music began to play. We are new gods and goddesses who don't like any of you or your worlds. We have destroyed them all and all of the species you called immortals. Now welcome to this dungeon hell where you will be staying forever. The voice screeched welcome to hell again and again. It cackled. The voice slowed down and got deeper as I had designed it to. Welcome to hell, it said. Welcome to pain. Welcome to fear. I watched as Peruse with a few others looked confused and scared in their elevator, not knowing what was going on. The elevator flung them all out into my cave mines. We appeared to them in our demonic forms. They screamed and screamed. We leered and snarled at them. They began to run. I planned it so they had to run past us all at first, and we would stab them with our weapons as they ran past, themselves feeling pain and seeing blood for the first time. I used illusion magic to chop off their arms and legs. They would scream and see their arm or leg be removed and regrown later. The fear level never dropped. I chased Peruse, my first target, and never left him alone. He fell on the ground, pleaded, screamed again when he looked at my demonic disguise. It was great when the former popular and famous ones could see one another too in my hell. They felt all the more hopeless with no hope of escape. So I sawed his body parts off, kicked him, flung him around. I let him run and hide and found him again and tortured him again with my weapons. For around 7 minutes. As I cackled, lifting my saw into the air again to behead him, they all disappeared. All of them. What? I shouted. I bellowed. I span around. They had all gone. My friends were looking around in confusion in their demonic disguises. I quickly turned invisible so they couldn't turn against me in those quick moments. I teleported into my hideaway right away, not risking anything. I was in my replica palace living room. What happened? I roared and ordered my magic to show me. My magic showed me a necklace with a pendant shaped like a ring. I saw the god Iraval, inventor of waterfalls and oceans, with the necklace around his neck. It was invisible. I watched as he was abducted like everyone else and drained of power. Then I screamed and screamed. The pendant had activated around his neck, magic swirling around it. It was a backup supply of magic he had made for if he ever lost his powers for whatever reason. He had turned invisible, casting a magical spell for no one to notice his disappearance. As I said no, I saw a second scene. Another god called Ramiro was sitting alone on a sofa in the scene before me. My friends threw the magic at him invisibly and a shield activated around him. He gasped and disappeared from sight. My friends fled into a hideaway straight away. My magic had not picked up their protection, as they had made it so the shield and necklace pendant couldn't be traced with magic. I couldn't believe the last scene I watched. Another god called Kiaz had bribed one of my demons called Jarzo with popularity and fame. The vain wretched cursed to me had stopped what he was doing because Kiaz had complimented his appearance. Then the clever god Kiaz had said, "This is nothing," knowing popularity and fame was an issue somehow. "I can give you worlds to worship you. I can give you everything, not merely here to chase us all forever, for whatever reason," Kiaz persuaded my demon Jarzo. Jarzo had taken his offer. He let him escape and gave them his powers back. Kiaz had told Jarzo to meet up with him once he had escaped. The three gods had found each other, looked in on my plan, and got rid of all my cover spells for if we failed and had to flee, including the duplicate secret replacement holograms, and replicated my hideaways and rescued all within the 7 minutes. They were currently resurrecting the immortals, bringing their lifeless bodies back first before breathing life into them again without magic. I fell to my knees. "No!" I cried and I cried. I looked in on what my former minions were doing. They had all teleported out after Lucifer had sent out the messages telepathically to all as I escaped that our victims had all disappeared. He got scared and ordered everyone to flee. They all had. I watched my minions in their hideaways, screaming my name. My demons wanted my head, shouting, "Satan!" My cursed Jarzo had fled into his own hideaway, gasping when everyone disappeared, realizing he had been tricked when he couldn't get to Kiyaz. Everyone was trying magically together in the different hideaways by now to get our escaped victims. Nothing would work. I didn't know how to get through my own hideaway. "Ah!" I screamed and cried. I knew to give it a day or two before I transported my 144,000 loyal worshippers to me. They needed some cooling down time first. I lay on my living room floor and screamed and cried out. All of my plans ruined. Alone again. A universe of fans. Down to 144,000 in a day or two. I slapped myself on the face trying to get it together. I couldn't. "No more fans," I cried out into the air with no one to respond. I wailed and wailed. I became furious. I raged and threw everything off my tables. I destroyed the room. I sank to my knees again. Only my reflection to look at in the mirror. It cheered me up a little. At least I looked good, I thought, and groaned again. Chapter 7. So here I am now, myself, Satan, telling you all about my real past decades later. So what did I get up to next? As I said, I transported my loyal 144,000 fans to myself 2 days later. They cheered me on. They loved me that much and wanted to come up with a plan together to retrieve all of our victims. They were intent on killing all the good immortal population again and retrieving our victims for hell, to torture for all of eternity. After the first few moments, it wasn't possible to look in on the universe of good. The gods and goddesses had found a way to block themselves from being seen. I had already made sure I did the same for each hideaway prior to our fleeing the scene. My 144,000 fans were all evil princes and princesses who had betrayed both of their parents and many of their siblings. They had all become unpopular for being so in love with themselves and being rude to anyone they weren't related to. So after secretly sending out my popularity and fame statistics and waiting 1,000 years, they had all succumbed to envy and chosen my evil plans of mass killing and putting their popular and famous parents and siblings into hell. My 144,000 were most intent on reigniting fear and chasing their families around in demonic disguises and torturing them. Did the rest find out that the real universe had overcome all of my spells and duplicate holograms of us evil ones for our own safety? Yes, they knew from quickly looking into and someone spreading the word. Fortunately, my 144,000 still loved me and acted like I was a martyr. The rest in their hideaways couldn't get to me to wring my neck. Did I miss my wife and children and grandchildren? No, I thought of them as my traitors along with any friends I had for turning on me in case of failure. If you're wondering about the not having sex part with no wife, I got remarried and made marriage and couples happen again with my, in comparison to myself, younger fans. It was monogamy time again and they all liked me better for it at this point. It means most had a new perfect eternity partner as they had wanted to be with me, not their current evil match partners. So I married the daughter of Peruse as a win. I liked marrying his daughter and turning most of his family evil. I had been most jealous of marriage and sex as inventions in the beginning and the perfect eternity partner to live with idea. I had also been a little jealous of his face because it was really astonishing compared to the rest of ours astonishing. I didn't know how to make my own face that great. I envied his wife's face sometimes too, so this was the ultimate victory, making their oldest daughter my wife. Kids? Yes, we all continued having children. We used magic to ensure only children who would choose evil in the situation were ever born to us. I carried on working with my fans to try and come up with something to retrieve the good and inflict our harm on them, but we couldn't come up with anything. As time went on, I wanted to be extremely popular again, so I needed something new to entertain my 144,000 fans, all living in their palaces in my hideaway. As we couldn't come up with a plan to retrieve the good, I didn't want my popularity and fame to dwindle with my fans, so I came up with an idea that was nearly as big as my idea of hell itself. I called my new idea Planet Earth. Chapter 8. So I made Planet Earth purely for immortal entertainment. My plan was to make a population, put my killing invention in via television shows and films, and put in things to make the population jealous, and then watch them turn on each other and turn into killers. I decided to make year 1 of Planet Earth my made-up year of 1947. I would make humans and put them into families, thinking they were all married couples with children. So, with magic, I used my Hellscape Town feature as the environment for Planet Earth. We all lived in a magical world which was beautiful in our castles. So when I made my new town section of hell with houses like they look like on Planet Earth and cobbled roads, I thought this was a good idea for the environment. I decided to call the population the human race. They wouldn't mind the environment because they wouldn't know any different. So I designed the different countries, made the globe, and began all my designed families all at once everything was in place. My plan was to make them all think they spoke different languages in each country. Really, everyone would be speaking English and I would make it sound like gibberish to anyone who wasn't from that country. This was to create division so it wasn't a harmonious world in the first place. I also created accents for each country, again to create divisions. Next in my plan, I made up for all the children made by me originally to go to school. I made up the different subjects to do at school and wrote all the textbooks. Next, I planned to put in grades, plays, sports, the jocks and cheerleaders for some countries where it created envy and the odd other thing too, like competitions. The police and emergency services would simply be programmed holograms. I'd let loose a rumour that the police didn't actually do anything about murder or crimes, and we would watch who would kill over everything I put into schools to create envy. What next? So I created all the jobs there are on the planet for them to also cause envy. I also designed universities and a league table for that to also cause envy. The TV would be all sketched out by me, really, but the humans would think there was something called actors and actresses acting in the shows of films and pop stars in music videos. To treat my 144,000 immortals, I thought I would sketch in their form onto my TV so they were known and famous with the population. It would be believed that the immortals were either actors or actresses, TV presenters or pop stars. This was a treat for them so they would love me even more. Well, you've all heard of reality TV and found that addictive at some point of life. This was the original plan to entertain my immortals, with killing. I magicked my killing magic into knives and guns and put in the different methods of killing via magic for my planet to access after seeing the method of killing on TV. I planned to put in the confused existence of whether or not gods or goddesses exist and would steer the human race into believing in made-up science. Hearing my name Satan and the story that I led the angels of heaven into killing a god, killing being my invention, and hearing about the good going to heaven and the bad to hell, would help turn my population evil. So I threw all that in too. When all was designed, I began my ultimate show for my immortals, Planet Earth TV. As foreseen by me, they loved it. I even made it accessible to the people and demons in the other hideaways, so my popularity could increase with themselves, hopefully. So I told my 144,000 to be excited. I revealed my plan to themselves, and they all tuned in for the first day of Planet Earth TV. The human race in my delusion all began watching my TV for themselves in their living rooms in their pretend families. I had magicked in past memories and a made-up history of the world for each country. The kids went to school, the parents went to work, and bada bing, bada boom, we all watched them all slowly turn into killers over envy, over everything I put in to cause envy. It was a massive success. We've been running for ages. I'm even more popular and famous with the 144,000 now who are having children, which means the population size is growing. I'm a family man again with 3 children in their 30s. They love my Planet Earth show, as we call it, and so does my wife. I'm happy being loved. Planet Earth Entertainment has been a massive success. How many have turned evil and killed so far on Planet Earth? Around 47%. My immortals love watching the theme of jealousy and watching it grow. They watch it all on the TV I run for them all. Each family on Planet Earth has their own TV channel. The immortals just select Planet Earth Entertainment as an option on their TV when they want to tune in. They watch it all the time. No one's that bothered about reruns from Heaven TV in comparison. So yes, watching the human population turn into killers over envy was a major success for me. I love being loved, as you know. I'm cheered entering rooms to this day. When it comes to the good gods and goddesses, angels and immortals, I haven't come up with anything yet to breach my own replicated hideaway, where they remain hidden and unreachable from us. No one else in the evil hideaways has come up with a solution either. For now, Planet Earth Entertainment keeps my population from ever turning on me. I'm secretly a tiny bit popular in the other hideaways for providing entertainment, even if they all still want to kill me for failing. Any bit of fame and popularity I'm happy with. Now, you're all up to date with the present. I'd better attend my meeting with a representative from each family and hope my popularity and fame for Planet Earth TV isn't dwindling. Chapter 9. I sat down in a chair in a big auditorium filled with rows of seats. Princess Charlotte had a seat and began the talking on behalf of all the, former princes and princesses that were sitting there. When it came to the 144,000 former prince and princess fans who wanted to be with me in my hideaway, a lot of them were traitor siblings who had betrayed their queen mums and king dads and brothers and sisters by putting them into hell. Hence most of them being a representative of their family here in the scenes behind Planet Earth TV. I'm listening, I told former Princess Charlotte. I was always careful not to be extravagant in front of themselves by not sitting on a big throne, so they wouldn't work out my secret of always wanting to be the most popular and famous of all. I sat in an ordinary-looking chair next to the rows of seats. Princess Charlotte spoke from her seat without standing up. As I mentioned, Planet Earth TV has turned boring. What was once loved has turned stale. Watching paint dry on Planet Earth is actually more entertaining at the moment, Charlotte roared on. There were bellows of agreement across the room. Yeah, some of the fallen to evil princes and princesses shouted. Whatever, I thought in my head. Calm down, losers. I politely nodded. What's so boring about it? I asked when the roars had quietened down. Another princess called Moles stood up. The auditorium fell into silence. Women, I moaned to myself in my head, staging a coup against me. I tried not to show my revulsion on my face. A type of witchcraft started around 20 years ago. It was by a bunch of 7-year-old boys in a primary school. They became so jealous of the prettiest girls in the year, ourselves decided to put in the magic of turning the population unattractive if the humans kept calling each other ugly, so it didn't become boring, hoping they would learn their lesson. Truthfully, it was for calling us ugly when we were on TV which first angered us, and then we realised it turned viewing boring. So the boys came up with a craft against the prettiest girl in their year group. They decided to all start the like word and saying a girl who was average looking in the class was the most beautiful. Then they started doing the same thing to the mums dropping their children off to school in the playground. It spread everywhere. All the males in all the year groups in all the schools in the country started doing the same thing. They surrounded the prettier girls in the year and said they all liked a girl who was average looking and kept calling her the prettiest. Then it spread to the rest of the world. We called it deflection witchcraft. And now there is a deflection for everything in life. All the teachers in the schools deflect if any student is putting a lot of effort into a subject and deflect off the ones who have become best at sports, called games originally, by playing a lot. Now all the adults are doing it too. There is now nothing entertaining about watching Planet Earth TV, and they won't grow out of it. We checked magically if we could get rid of the craft somehow, but they will never stop, no matter what. On behalf of all here, although we loved Planet Earth TV, we want to now kill them all and start again. So you can make a new population and planet and magic out the idea of deflection, witchcraft ever being made up or entering again. So to get straight to the point, yes, we want to end the world. We want to destroy everyone on planet Earth by killing them all. You can call it Season 2 beginning. Former Princess Mola sat down. The rest of the princes and princesses started clapping. My worst nightmare, I thought to myself, princes getting applauded instead of me. I have to take control of the situation quickly and regain. I said jovially from my seat, "So, you all feel this way?" They all roared and cheered again. Some stood up and cackled and whistled. "So, it will be done," I pledged as cheerfully as I could. I have to start the whole thing again," I moaned in my head to myself. I didn't know deflection witchcraft would bring the planet to a literal standstill and becoming boring for entertainment, even with the viewed population turning into killers. What else can I do? I thought to myself quickly. I'll have to promise the greatest season ever and make a whole new population again, more bloodthirsty and vicious than ever. Maybe I'll introduce torture more to the population in my next planet instead of emphasizing only killing mainly. I promise the next one will be the greatest season of planet entertainment ever, I shouted jollily from my seat, never standing up so I didn't create any envy over myself. They all stood and cheered and applauded. Former Prince Jolov stood up and roared excitedly, "Can we kill them all on Halloween like last time? The next apocalypse Armageddon," Jolov bellowed. I pretended to look startled. "Of course we can," I bellowed back. This time I stood up to go with the mood and everyone began standing and cheering me again. "We will end planet Earth on 31st of October, in 20 days. I roared, raising my fist in the air. "Yes," the former princes and princesses all roared. They had all stood up and started clapping. Some of the males grabbed me and lifted me onto their shoulders and walked me around the room, the rest of the former princes and princesses surrounding me and cheering. I smiled and cheered, raising my hands in the air. I loved it, the love, the adoration. It was practically renewed and rejuvenated even for myself. It was worth wiping out a planet again for it all. The date was set, 20 days and counting for planet Earth not to exist anymore. Chapter 10. Somewhere on planet Earth. Les Chamaz was sitting at the dinner table eating dinner with her family. It was a Saturday evening. The family were having a roast dinner. The family surname was Rakala. Les Chamaz was the second-born child in the family. She was 25 and had light brown hair and blue eyes. She currently worked in the administration office for a skip hire company. She had finished university 4 years before, graduating in the degree of philosophy of religion. She had 2 sisters, one older, one younger. Kaira was the eldest sibling. She was 32 and worked in a fish and chip shop. She had ebony hair and green eyes. Salera was the third-born child. She was 23 and worked in a clothes shop. She had red hair and hazel eyes. Les Chamaz also had 2 younger brothers. Kazma was 21 and had been working in a phone shop since finishing university more recently. He had brown curly hair and brown eyes. Finally, Ozem, the youngest sibling, was 19 and had been working in a corner shop since finishing school. He didn't want to attend university. Les Chamaz's parents, Gama and Ezel, had agreed to this. Ozem had curly ebony hair and green eyes. Gama worked as a nurse and had red hair and green eyes, and Ezel worked as a truck driver and had ebony hair and blue eyes. The family chatted away happily as they ate their dinner. Ozem had begun to tell his parents about an incident at work. Some under 18s had come in asking to buy a bottle of alcohol. They didn't have ID. He said he can't serve them. They had become difficult, and his boss, the owner of the shop, who was in his 50s, came out and told the teenagers to clear off. Les Chamaz watched as her parents frowned and glanced at one another. Les Chamaz felt a little concerned for her brother's safety at the shop. The world was becoming too corrupt for people to be able to have jobs at the moment, she thought to herself. She didn't mind her own job, but the other employees could be friendlier. It kind of felt like being stuck in a rut, being stuck there. She wondered if this was going to be her life until whatever the retirement age was by now. The thought was a little depressing. The family finished eating and cleared the dishes. They spent a pleasant evening watching a film on TV together. Leshamaz made her way up to bed around 1 a.m. Her siblings followed. Leshamaz turned her light off and said a little prayer before going to sleep, as she had been doing since she was 3 or 4 years old. She lay awake for a while and heard her parents go to bed. Leshamaz glanced at her clock radio. The time was 1:35 a.m. Leshamaz closed her eyes and tried to fall asleep. Leshamaz didn't know if she believed that God existed or not, she thought to herself. She was born into a religion that taught there was only one God, and that was about it for information. She remembered as a child when she had believed her mum when there was thunder and lightning outside and her mum had said God is moving the furniture around. Going to school may as well have atheized the world by going on about science and introducing the term agnostic to mean not knowing if God existed or not. Atheist meant not believing in God. The odd religion taught that there were many gods and goddesses. Leshamaz prayed every night but thought of herself as agnostic, as she didn't know if God existed or not. But who did, she thought to herself. She prayed for herself and her family all to live long, happy lives. Leshamaz sighed and opened her eyes. She always ended up thinking deep thoughts about God and if heaven is real when she went to bed at night. Recently, she had felt even more confused about it all when she went to bed at night. Leshamaz felt a little frustrated. She glanced at the clock radio. It was now 2 a.m. When was she going to fall asleep? She rolled over to her side and closed her eyes again. Leshamaz. Leshamaz opened her eyes and gasped. She had heard a deep male voice whisper her name in her head. Leshamaz. Leshamaz gasped again and sat bolt upright in bed. Chapter 11. Do not be afraid, the voice continued in her head. Leshamaz stared into the darkness of her bedroom and listened intently. Who are you? Leshamaz whispered out loud. I am a god. My name is Resam, and I need to speak with you. I need to entrust you with a very important task, the voice of Resam continued. What is it? Leshamaz whispered out loud in disbelief. First, I must tell you the truth about existence, the male voice continued. You are the most devout in praying out of the good left on earth. You are the only one who can be my vessel, the voice told Leshamaz. Okay, Leshamaz whispered, clutching onto her duvet. She couldn't believe this was happening, but yet she had heard stories about a god contacting a human on planet Earth in religious stories. She knew in her mind that she must be needed for something extremely important. I know you know the story of Satan leading a section of the angels of heaven into killing a god. The truth is, there were many of us gods and goddesses. We were all born at the same time. We came into being. We invented many things. We made immortals and empires. We lived happily for billions of years. Satan was actually a god who got jealous of other gods and goddesses due to popularity and fame. We were kings and queens constantly entertaining our empires, and our children were princes and princesses. Satan organized killing everyone, enticing all the jealous of every species into joining him by killing everyone in the immortal universe who were good and would never do an evil act due to jealousy. Satan then organized for the pleasure of all his jealous minions the invention Hell. He invented pain through his magic and made demons to abduct and torture all of us good kings and queens and princes and princesses in his huge dungeon he called Hell. Mums and dads betrayed children, children betrayed their parents, husband betrayed wives, wives betrayed husbands, sibling betrayed sibling. Nearly half of the entire universe of all had chosen Satan's evil inventions to inflict on us all. Everyone was killed, and the good kings and queens and good princes and princesses, our children, were tortured and scared in hell for 7 minutes. Satan's population, his fans, were all in demon disguises. Fortunately, one god had made a backup power supply and another had a secret shield. One god bribed a demon into releasing himself, as he promised he could make the demon popular and famous beyond his wildest dreams. The three found each other and rescued us all. They replicated the planned hideaway made by Satan. Us gods and goddesses resurrected all the immortals and their children and looked after our own children as well as them. Satan's hordes couldn't get to us as he couldn't breach his own planned hideaway. They fled into their different hideaways before we could capture them all, gods and goddesses fleeing their evil masses as they organized it all and knew the masses would turn on them due to failure. The voice of Resam paused. Are you with me so far? Resam asked Leshamaz. Yes, Leshamaz whispered, captivated by every word. The world was divided nearly half and half, us hiding from them hiding from us trying to capture them all to defeat the threat of evil, and them always trying to get to us to kill and torture us good kings and queens and any of our good children in hell forever. Much time has passed since it all happened, neither side managing to capture the other side. Satan still had followers he teleported to himself, around 144,000 evil princes and princesses. He made planet Earth as entertainment for them all. He made up schools and jobs and everything else put in to cause envy. The entertainment factor for his followers would be watching the human race turn into killers over jealousy. That's why he put the presence of himself, Satan, and himself inventing killing to kill a god story into the planet. It was part of the truth. The police are just holograms, really. Satan put the rumor into the planet that the police don't do anything about crimes, and so the turning evil and killing began. However, the entertainment has become boring as the boys in a primary school started a witchcraft known as deflection witchcraft. They decided to pick an average-looking girl in their year group and start pretending they were all in love with her and that she was the prettiest. They surrounded the prettier girls at 7 years old with it, the equivalent of smashing all the mirrors in town. The craft spread all over the world. By now it turns out that there is a deflection for anything and everything, from games to in any school subject where one student does nothing and another puts a lot of effort in and the teacher swaps their roles around, praising the one not actually doing anything. The voice of reason paused again. Leshamaz knew what the craft was. She had always felt confused in school when the boys kept saying a girl who wasn't very noticeable was the prettiest around herself too. They had made herself think she wasn't very attractive. The older she got, the more confusing it got. Even now, at 25, males from school would still mention their deflection to her. She suspected them of jealousy, but had never thought about it enough to get to the bottom of it. Like at school? Leshamaz inquired. Yes, exactly. I speak on behalf of all the good in our universe, all the good gods and goddesses. We managed through some magical loopholes to provide protection to the human race as long as they were good. As soon as one chose evil, their protection would be taken away. This meant killing only worked if a person had turned evil. As mentioned, deflection witchcraft has bored the followers of Satan, all who have magic. They now want to destroy the planet Earth and want Satan to restart the entertainment with a new planet and new human race. They want him to put down a magic spell so deflection witchcraft can never be used again. Satan, wanting to remain popular with them all, agreed to ending this planet and starting again. They are going to kill everyone on the planet next Friday. They have been counting down for the last few days. I have contacted you at the precise correct moment for our plan to work, the voice of Resam told Lishamaz. Okay, Lishamaz whispered, clutching even more tightly to her duvet. There was nothing else for her to say due to the magnitude of the situation. By now, 91% of the planet has turned evil. There has been an acceleration in the last few weeks due to the things Satan put on TV and his entertainment plan. There are 240,000 good people who are good on planet Earth and always will be good. We don't know how to teleport you all over to our side to live forever, as we were all meant to. So we don't want the evil eye of Satan and his followers fixed on yourselves, always trying to get to you to kill you all, due to our magical protection, protecting you from being killed in this, what they call the Apocalypse Armageddon, round 2. The end of the world, again for themselves. We are able to get some protection magic in via loopholes as the human race was made after the hideaways had been created. Our protection not to be killed will be around every single individual as usual on the last day. We want to teleport you collectively into a new dimension hidden from Satan and his followers. We want to replicate everything like food and everything needed to live, which was magicked in really the entire time by Satan. You'll always be safe and never killed and can live in a secret dimension safely until we can come up with a plan to destroy Satan and his legion's hideaways. Then we can teleport you all into our world to live happily forever. Leshamaz gulped and nodded her head furtively, thankful to God literally for always protecting them and saving them from the plans of evil. It would turn out the plan would be by evil to evil as the good humans would be protected. The plan is to end the world by killing the human race on the 31st of October, the night of Halloween. Satan organised the original Apocalypse Armageddon for our world on that day, hence the dressing up as scary demons on the night of Halloween here in the planet of Satan's delusion. A crime, the truth of existence not being in here. I want you to tell your family tomorrow. They will believe you. Then I will speak to them through you. I can spread my voice to all if you all hold hands. They will hear me. I can't contact any of the rest of the good in advance as they will think they're going crazy. Shortly before the end of the world on Friday 31st of October, through our magic, using your body and mind, we can reach out to the rest. They will need to hear your voice first. I will tell you what to say. I will let you all see on your television screens the ending and burning of the world. Then us good gods and goddesses will teleport you all into a secret dimension to live with one another. A safe haven for all 240,000. Are you, Leshamaz, willing to be the vessel of the good gods and goddesses tomorrow and on Friday 31st of October, a little before 10 p.m., the appointed time for the end of the world, the voice of Resam asked. I am, Leshamaz pledged, bowing her head in honour and gratefulness to the good god. Chapter 12. Leshamaz was sat at the kitchen table with her family the following Sunday morning. She had begun telling them of the events of the night before. They were all staring at her transfixed. When she had finished telling them of everything Ressam had told her the night before, they all stared at her in silence. After a moment, her dad Azam glanced at her mum Garma. Then Leshamaz suddenly heard the voice of Ressam in her mind. He said, "Let me take over now, child. Tell them you can prove it. Join hands with the family members sitting next to you and tell them all to join hands with one another. This way I can communicate to all," Ressam instructed. Leshamaz leaped up for a moment. "I can prove it. Everyone join hands together. He will communicate to all," Leshamaz shouted at all. Azem glanced at Garma again for a moment. Garma looked at the rest of her children. "Well, do it, everyone," she instructed. "Come on. Tell them to close their eyes so they can process what I am saying," Ressam instructed Leshamaz. Everyone closed their eyes, Leshamaz told her family. Leshamaz watched as they all closed their eyes. "You can keep yours open," Ressam told her. "Hello, Rekala family," Leshamaz heard Ressam say in her mind. The rest of the Rekala family all gulped simultaneously. Leshamaz smiled, watching all of their faces. "What Leshamaz has told you is true. I told her the truth of existence last night about there being many gods and goddesses, and the truth about Satan making planet Earth in his hideaway for the entertainment of what you would have heard called fallen angels. They are former princes and princesses, as Leshamaz told you. They're all evil. Now that they are bored with planet Earth entertainment, Satan agreed to end planet Earth next Friday on Halloween at 10 p.m. This is to remain popular with them. I chose Leshamaz as she is very devout, as she has been praying all her life as my vessel of communication. Now that you all know the truth, I will put you all in a secret dimension once they come to Earth to kill everyone next Friday at 10 p.m. As Leshamaz said, most of the planet has fallen to evil and will perish. We managed to put protection around the good humans through a loophole in the system as you were created after the hideaway was made. You will be safe and hidden in the secret dimension with Satan's magic being replicated forever for supplies. There are 240,000 good people on planet Earth. Next Friday at 9:45 p.m, sit in front of your television. Hold hands again. That way we can magic in our message through Leshamaz and then project it to all the good in the world. We want Leshamaz to introduce us to the 240,000 in their heads, and then using our magic project the message to all. We will take over and tell them all what we have told you. We don't want Satan and his hordes to have their evil eye fixed on you and be constantly working on a way to kill you all whilst you are protected by us from being killed. This way they will never know that you still exist. You will be safe," Rassam finished telling the Rekala family. "We have chosen not to contact the rest until next Friday, 9:45 p.m, because they will fall into disbelief if we do it any earlier than the allotted time. Be ready to be transported to a secret dimension next Friday from 9:45 p.m. Goodbye for now." Leshamaz watched as her family opened their eyes. They looked at each other, not knowing what to say. Finally, Garma broke the silence. "Oh, thank Rassam and all the good gods and goddesses. They're rescuing us all. Oh, Leshamaz," she cried. Garma stood up and went to Leshamaz and put her arms around her and kissed her on the forehead. The rest of her family also stood up and all smothered her in a family hug. "We're going to be safe," Ezem said happily. "Our whole family will be safe." The Rekala family hugged and kissed one another on the cheeks, grateful for their saviour Rassam and the good gods and goddesses, and grateful to Leshamaz for not thinking she was crazy and believing a god was contacting her. They would be ready next Friday on Halloween at 9:45 p.m. for a new existence. Chapter 13. I, Satan, the Almighty, stood ready in a large auditorium. It was Friday, 31st of October, Halloween, almost 10 p.m. My fans, as I called them, were wearing red hooded cloaks for the occasion. I also wore one for the occasion. I'd ended up loving the idea of ending the planet Earth instead of groaning about having to start again. It was like my popularity with the former princes and princesses had increased even more. They were so excited to kill again. I divided the kills between myself and all of themselves. As we didn't have any gods or goddesses to worry about, we could go around killing the humans all night, as opposed to doing a spell so it was all done at once. Obviously, there were more humans than princes and princesses. We were going to remain visible as we did it for a good scare. My fans were amassed again, just like the first time. We all knew where we would be teleporting to. I had become even more popular, it seemed, because it was going to be a full night of killing as opposed to getting it all done at once. My fans couldn't wait to be unleashed and kill the human race in my death magic, which I called fire. I looked at my watch. 10 p.m. I projected my voice magically for all to hear. "Let's go," I roared to the crowd. The former princes and princesses whistled and cheered, and we emptied the auditorium. I'd chosen to kill a family who was quite popular on the planet before they turned evil. They annoyed me once with it, so I thought, why not start with them? There were only 100,000 who hadn't fallen to evil yet, but we'd be killing them too, of course. I teleported invisibly into a family living room. I was floating in the air like last time. I grinned as I looked at the now murderous family all watching TV. I outstretched my hands. Kill, I commanded my magic. I laughed gleefully as my orange fire left my hands and obliterated all 5 members of the family from existence. I cheered and prepared to continue with my night of killing. Bye-bye, planet Earth the First, I shouted, and prepared to wipe out the rest of the planet in my Apocalypse Armageddon Round 2. I cackled into the air. Chapter 14. 20 minutes earlier. Leshamaz sat with her family in the living room on Friday 31st of October, 9:40 p.m. on the night of Halloween. They knew the world was about to end. They knew they would be rescued. Leshamaz still felt nervous, waiting for the voice of Resum to enter all of their minds again. The family waited, huddled close to one another, for Leshamaz to begin the message to the 100,000 good people on the planet. Minutes ticked by. It's time, Resum whispered. Leshamaz looked at her digital watch. It had just turned 9:45 p.m. The family all joined hands. Leshamaz heard Resum in her head. Are you ready, Leshamaz? Resum asked. Yes, Leshamaz said in her mind. Okay, I'm going to project your voice now. Repeat after me, Resum instructed. Hello, 240,000 good people on planet Earth. My name is Leshamaz. Please stop what you are doing and listen to my voice in your head. The world is about to end. We will be saved. The good gods and goddesses chose me as a messenger to the human race to make contact with you all. Please listen carefully to the god Resum. He will now speak on behalf of the good gods and goddesses. Leshamaz repeated Resum's words, word for word. So she breathed a sigh of relief. Her part was done. Thank you, Leshamaz. On behalf of all the good gods and goddesses, I will now take over, Resum told her. The Rekula family all listened as Resum made contact with the 240,000 other good people on the planet. He told the human race the truth of existence as he had done with Leshamaz and her family. We managed to put in a blind spot magically so Satan and his evil viewers never knew that we were always protecting everyone on the planet until they turned evil, and then their protection would drop. You will be hidden. You will be safe. Satan and his hordes will never know you are there. You will have supplies replicated. We can manage to shrink down the land so all of the 240,000 can live together on the same land. As soon as we come up with a plan to breach the hideaways and capture Satan and all his minions in the hideaways, we will transport you all to ourselves. In the meantime, you will be safe. At 9:59 p.m., us good gods and goddesses will transport you all to the secret dimension. We will put on TV the scenes of the end of the world so you can see for yourselves and watch the evil humans perish. We can do this with the magic we can put in. It will only take a few minutes to transport you, Resum continued, to all the good in the world. The Rekula family continued to listen to Resum as his voice took them to 9:59 p.m. It is time, Resum told the 240,000 good people on planet Earth. The Rekula family all opened their eyes and stared at the TV. Watch your television screens as we teleport you all to the secret dimension, Resum instructed the good left in humankind. Leshamaz and her family stared at the scene. They watched transfixed as they saw beings in red cloaks appear all over the world. They watched as they stretched out their hands, shouted kill, and watched fire magic consume the evil humans. The evil humans disintegrated on the screens before their eyes. The Rekula family watched along with the 240,000 good people left on planet Earth as the evil beings carried on killing the evil humans to extinction. A few minutes later, the TV screen switched off. It is done, the voice of Resum told the 240,000. You are now all living next door to the other good humans of planet Earth. You are safe and looked after and will always have food and drink, and everything will automatically restock in all the shops. No money needed, of course. Resum told the 240,000 good humans. Live free now in the secret dimension. Become friends and carry on living. Resum's voice stopped. The Rekula family all stood up. They cheered and hugged one another. They rushed to their front door. They opened the door and went out onto the street. Their new neighbours were also coming out of their houses. The sun was shining. The neighbours all looked around in dismay. Oh, thank you, the Rekula family exclaimed one after the other. They fell to their knees in gratitude to Resum and the good gods and goddesses. They had been saved. The entire street of new neighbours fell to their knees in gratitude, thanking Resum, Leshamaz, and the good gods and goddesses for saving them all. They could live again, surrounded only by good people. The end. Okay, so I hope anyone that's tuned in to this episode enjoys my story Satan's TV, a horror fantasy, and it's available on Amazon in paperback or on Kindle. So thank you to everyone who's listened to this episode and my podcast. Have a brilliant week, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.